Let's move directly to the line of combat engagement. First of all, today we're looking at the Pokrovsk-Mirnograd sector of the front. This is the area that remains the most intense in terms of fighting, and probably the enemy is putting the most effort here to finally capture these two cities and the entire agglomeration. The very first feature of this area in the first week of January this year, just like all of December in fact, is the absence, I would say, the absence of a clearly defined line of combat engagement as such, meaning the positions of Ukrainian infantry are scattered here and there. Even the positions of our pilots here are simply mixed in with the forward hideouts of the occupiers. We're talking about a line stretching over 50 kilometers from Molodetske in the southwest all the way to Rodinske, including Zatishak and Dorozhne in the northeast. But the peculiarity of section number 2 is that, as before, there is still the so-called gray zone or disputed territory present here. However, it is important to note that this area has become noticeably smaller, unlike how it was at the end of December, when it was significantly larger. It's about 5 kilometers now. Instead, on both sides of this zone, for a good 10 kilometers, or maybe even more, it's an area targeted by drones. And in both the Ukrainian and enemy rear areas within this entire polygon, this multifaceted area, the confrontation is still ongoing, mainly now on the northwestern and northern outskirts of Pokrovsk and the peaceful Grad, and to some extent for the nearby settlements of Molodetske. Rishin, Rivne, Svitle village, Rodinske, and again the already mentioned Zatishok or Suvorove. Directly in Pokrovsk itself. How's it now? The main fighting is taking place along the stretch from the intersection of Ivan Mazepa Street and Defenders of Ukraine Street, along the railway branch to the territory of the local dentist plant. The day before, literally, the Rashists, most likely the 506th and 1435th Motorized Rifle Regiments of the 27th Motorized Rifle Division, which is part of the 2nd Combined Arms Army, carried out a series of attacks along the T-0515 highway toward Stapropilia, trying to push northward. At the same time, they tried to encircle the village of Rivne from the southwest and from the Dinas area, moving north, as well as along the floodplain of the Krishinka River. In my opinion, this clearly shows the enemy's attempt to split the area in two. All the Ukrainian armed forces groups that are defending around Pokrovsk and Mirnograd. It should be noted that the area north of Ivana Mazepa Street, practically up to the turnoff from the highway, May 15th, near Hrishin, is now also in this so-called gray zone, and small infantry groups of the Muscovites are actively trying to attack there as well. Mainly, units are operating here of the 7th Russian Air Assault Division. They are attacking, in particular, along the M30 highway, moving from the road toward Grishinai. At the same time, to the southwest, the enemy's 35th Motorized Rifle Brigade from the 41st Combined Arms Army, and possibly the 162nd Reconnaissance Battalion of the 7th Division is trying to attack toward Molodetske and even further southwest, in the area between the Pokrovsk-Misova Highway and the Salona River. We have the opportunity to ask the head of the communications department for more details about the dynamics of events in the Pokrovsk-Mirnograd sector of the front of the 7th Rapid Response Corps of the Air Assault Forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Colonel Volodymyr Polyvy is already connected with the Spec Corps studio. Mr. Volodymyr, welcome.
Wishing you good health, Alexander.
First of all, I want to draw our viewers' attention. The QR code is, as usual, already on your screens. This time, it's a fundraiser for aerial drones and ground robotic systems for our soldiers, for the 7th Corps of the Ukrainian Air Assault Forces. Remotely piloted platforms. Right now, they're definitely the #1 weapon on the front line, especially around Pokrovsk and Mirnograd. Don't stand aside. Help our defenders. Mr. Volodymyr, we spoke with you exactly on Christmas, via video call in this studio. Back then, my main question was whether Ukrainian defenders were present directly in Pokrovsk and Mirnograd. 2 weeks have passed, but my question remains the same. Are our soldiers still resisting the occupiers within the geographical boundaries of both cities, or has the war finally moved beyond the outskirts?
Over the past 2 weeks, the situation has not changed drastically or significantly. That is, the units of the 7th Corps continue to hold the defense within the settlements.
Pokrovsk, Myrnograd. In Pokrovsk, it's the northern part of the city along the railway, and in Myrnograd, it's partially the central part and the northern part of the city.
Tell me, has the intensity of the enemy's attacks over the course of the week, since the very beginning of the year, has the situation changed significantly in any noticeable way? What do these assaults or attacks look like now, overall, compared to before? Is the enemy still actively infiltrating the urban area, or has their approach shifted in any way?
Since the very beginning of the year, we have carefully documented repeated attempts to storm the city, especially its flanks in the Pokrovsk and Myrnograd agglomeration, on multiple occasions. These are the areas around the settlement of Hrushayne, and assaults coming from the direction of Radenska. Wherever the enemy manages to amass forces, they resort to more massive assaults. Massive in the context of modern warfare now means assaults with 6 to 8 people, and these are being observed. They have managed to bring in additional personnel, moving them south of Pokrovsk, and are now able to build up forces there in the industrial zone. And from the industrial zone, they can now launch more or less intensive assaults.
Tell me, could you explain just how significant enemy manned aircraft and artillery are at this point, especially now, given the harsh winter conditions, the presence of frost, and the accumulation of snow?
Regarding artillery, I would like to note that the Ukrainian defense forces have now reached parity, or perhaps even slightly surpassed the enemy in this regard. In terms of the intensity of artillery fire, we also have a distinct advantage in the overall accuracy of our artillery systems, so the enemy does not have any advantage in artillery at all. Tactical aviation is a different matter. Tactical aviation is a level of military capability that is essentially unattainable for corps or brigade level units. In other words, in order to effectively neutralize this particular means of influence, we need either much longer range capabilities, or alternatively, we must strike the aircraft directly at their airfields where they are based and maintained. And these are options that are not available to the corps. So we can only, let's say, take these hits as they come and protect ourselves by fortifying positions, changing them, or deceiving the enemy.